In the beginning of the movie we see a boy named Colt, a stuntman who performs stunts in movies in place of the hero. He has been working with Hollywood's famous hero, Tom, for quite some time because his facial features match Tom's very well. Besides, his moves and stunts are exceptional, there's never a need for a second take. His perfection is what makes Tom's action movie hits. That's why many people are jealous of him. On the movie set, we also meet Jodie, Colt's partner. The two are about to get married soon. Jodie is currently a camera woman, but she has big dreams and wants to become a major Hollywood director. Tom is her biggest supporter in achieving her dreams. In short, their lives are going perfectly. However, it's not possible for someone's life to be so perfect and smooth all the time. Colt's life also faced such a tough phase. As usual, one day Colt performs a stunt for Tom, where he has to jump from a tall building. He nailed the perfect shot in one go, as always. However, Tom didn't like the shot and asked Colt to do the stunt again. This time, there was a problem on the set, which caused Colt to get severely injured while performing the stunt. This mistake seemed to mark the end of his career. He couldn't recover for 6 months, and in the film industry, he became known as the Fall Guy. This broke him so badly that he completely left the film industry. Time passes, and we see Colt working in a small restaurant. He had left the film industry so thoroughly that he was no longer in contact with Jodie, who was once the most important person to him. Then, one night, he receives a call from Tom's film producer, who tells him that they are making a blockbuster film and needs Colt to do the stunts for Tom. Colt refuses the job because he doesn't want to return to that work. But when the producer tells him that Jodie is directing the film and that she specifically requested him for the stunts, Colt can't refuse. He knows this is Jodie's first film, and if it doesn't become a hit, her career could be over. Since Jodie had called him especially, there was no question of not going. In the next scene, we see Colt on the set where his face is being matched with Tom's face cut. After stepping out, he meets his old friend and stunt partner. He feels happiness after a long time because he sees Jodie on the set, though she hasn't noticed him yet as she's busy with shooting preparations. As Jodie calls, "Roll camera and action," an explosion occurs, and Colt starts performing his stunt, emerging from the chaos. However, due to the road being sandy, the car goes out of control and accidentally hits the crane camera. Despite this, Colt manages to regain control and completely rotate the car, successfully completing the stunt and providing Jodie with her perfect shot. Finally, Colt gets out of the car and approaches Jodie. She is shocked to see him because she didn't expect Colt to be there. This means Jodie hadn't called him, and the film producer had lied. Instead of being happy to see Colt, Jodie is angry and tells him to leave. However, the stunt director, who is also Colt's friend, explains to Jodie that they don't have another stuntman at the moment and will have to work with Colt. Reluctantly, Jodie has no choice but to continue working with Colt. They proceed to shoot a scene where Colt's entire body is set on fire for the stunt. Colt had nailed the stunt perfectly on the first attempt. Despite getting the perfect shot, Jodie made him perform the stunt repeatedly, setting him on fire each time. She was venting her anger on Colt for leaving her, torturing him by making him redo the stunts. While explaining the film scene to him, she said, "The hero of my film falls in love with an alien. They promise to stay together, but one day, the hero gets badly injured in an accident and disappears. Now, the alien's partner is confused, not knowing whether the alien was a liar, a deceiver, or if something else happened. Tell me, what could be the situation?" Hearing all this, Colt felt terrible, but Jodie didn't stop. She asked, "Tell me, if the alien is questioned about all this, how would he justify himself?" This time, Colt spoke up. He said, "Maybe the alien is living with regret. Maybe he feels like he has lost his partner and can never meet them again. It could also be that the partner no longer wants to be with someone weak." Hearing this, Jodie's anger began to subside a bit. She takes the final shot, and then there's a backup. Colt then goes to the film producer. He asks the producer, "Why did you lie to me? Jodie didn't call me here, so what was the need to call me here?" The producer opens her mouth and says, There is a special reason to call you here, not just for stunts. Actually, Tom has fallen into the hands of some very old people because of drugs and has been missing for a long time. Colt says, "So what should I do about it? Go to the police." The producer replies, "No, we can't go to the police because if we go to the police, the news of Tom's disappearance will spread everywhere, and we can't afford that. We've already invested more money than the budget, and if the news of Tom's disappearance spreads, all the financiers will stop funding, and Jodi's film will also be shut down. Along with that, I will be ruined too. We need your help, please. Somehow find Tom and bring him back to us, but please don't involve the police." This time, Colt agreed only for Jodi. So, the producer gives him the key to one of Tom's houses. Colt takes it and goes to sit in his car. Before leaving this place, he was remembering all the golden moments he had spent with Jodi. Remembering all those good times they had spent together, Colt began to cry. Just then, Jodi arrives and sees him crying. She says to him, "I don't know why you are crying, but I'm feeling good about it." After saying this, she sits down on the seat next to him. Colt tries to explain to her, "Jodi, I never betrayed you. Whenever I tried to apologize to you, I could never muster enough courage. The words of apology never came to my mouth. How could I face you? How could I apologize to you?" Jodi says to him, "Oh, let it go. I came here to tell you that as long as you're here, behave like professionals. There's no need to do any foolish acts." Saying this, she gets out of the car and leaves. Colt now arrives at Tom's house. Suddenly, someone attacks him from behind. Being a stuntman, Colt easily defends himself. The girl asks him, "Who are you, and how did you get here?" Colt introduces himself, saying, "I am a stuntman, and I came here looking for Tom." She herself had been looking for Tom for a long time. She gives Colt a clue that Tom often meets a man with a leopard tattoo on his head at a club to buy drugs. Colt didn't want to waste any time. He quickly went to the club and met the man there. Instead of talking to Colt, the man drugged his drink. Under the influence of this drug, Colt lost control and started beating up all of the drug dealer's men. Before he could beat up the drug dealer himself, the dealer ran outside, got into a taxi, and escaped. Colt followed him on a bicycle, and in his intoxicated state, he didn't realize what was happening until he collided with the drug dealer's taxi. Colt wasn't seriously hurt, but the taxi driver stopped the taxi. The drug dealer, already terrified by Colt's fighting, confessed everything as soon as Colt opened the door to catch him. He said, "I don't know anything. Tom's security head just told me to give you the drugs." Colt asked, "Okay, then tell me where I can find Tom's security head." The drug dealer mentioned a hotel and said, "Go to the receptionist there and ask for a fruit plate. They will take you to Tom's security head." When Colt went to the reception and asked for a fruit plate, he was given the key to the security head's room. Colt went to the room, and when the door wouldn't open despite repeatedly using the security card, he broke down the door like a stuntman. Upon entering, his eyes widened in shock because he encountered a corpse. The dead body was kept on ice, and he was stunned. He quickly called the producer and told her about the dead body. He said, "Now you should inform the police about everything." But producer still refused to do so. Just then, the police officers arrived because Colt had parked his car incorrectly. Panicking, Colt told the police officers the truth, that he had seen a dead body in the hotel room. When the puzzled police officers went to check the hotel room, there was no dead body there anymore. Colt was utterly confused, not understanding what was happening to him. The police left, and the next day, he wanted to tell Jodi everything, but Jodi had already put him on a long schedule of shots. Jodi realized that she had ignored Colt the entire day, so she invited him to a party that night. Meanwhile, the producer approached Colt and gave him a ticket, saying, "You need to leave here immediately. Leave without telling anyone, or else something very bad will happen to you." But this time, Colt was not willing to listen to her. On the set, he also encountered Tom's personal assistant. Colt approached her, wanting to know the truth, but she didn't know much either. The girl only had Tom's mobile phone. She told Colt that Tom's security head had given it to her, but she wouldn't give it to anyone until she received a producer credit for the film. Colt managed to convince her somehow, but just then, Tom's security head arrived. He electrocuted the girl and put her in his car. Colt saw all of this. There was no way Colt would let a girl in trouble go without helping. In his effort to save the girl, Colt completely forgot that Jody had invited him to the party. Jody was very upset once again because of his absence. The producer came and told her that Colt had left. He had taken a flight that evening. Jody was deeply saddened by Colt leaving without telling her again, unaware that Colt was caught in another problem. In her sorrow over Colt's departure, Jody sang a sad song at the hotel. Meanwhile, outside the same hotel, Colt was fighting with the security head to save the girl. With great difficulty, Colt managed to save himself from the security head and climbed onto the truck. Inside the truck, the girl he was trying to save saw an opportunity and pushed the driver out of the moving truck, bringing it to a halt. Colt, who was on the back side of the truck, was thrown forward due to the sudden stop, causing the truck's mirror to break. He was injured but didn't care and quickly headed to the hotel. Colt went to the party Jody had mentioned, but when he got there, everyone had already left. Disappointed, he sat down in the hotel. There, he met his friend, his stunt partner, and told him the entire story about Tom's disappearance. He also told him how he had managed to get Tom's phone after so many difficulties. Now, they were thinking about how to unlock the phone. Colt remembered that Tom had a habit of forgetting things and would stick small notes around his house. He must have written down his phone password on one of those notes. Without wasting any time, they both went to Tom's house. Among the many notes, they found one with the password for Tom's phone. They unlocked the phone and started watching the videos inside. In one video, it was clear that Tom, in a drugged state, had killed one of his own stuntmen. This was the body Colt had seen in the hotel. While Colt and his friend were watching these videos, news came out that the stuntman had been murdered, and the last person seen leaving his room was Colt. Colt was shocked. He had informed the police about the murder, but people believe what they see. Everyone thought Colt had killed the stuntman to eliminate his competition. As they were watching this on the news, suddenly there was gunfire outside Tom's apartment. Whoever was shooting knew that Colt was inside instead of Tom. During the shooting, Tom's phone was also destroyed. To save their lives, Colt and his friend ran and jumped from the large roof of the building. On the other side of the building was water. When Colt jumped, he landed in it, then made his way to another location where he found Tom partying. The very person Colt had been looking for, and who had caused all this mess, was right there. Colt, realizing he had found Tom, was no coincidence. It was all part of Tom's plan. Colt discovered this truth at that moment. In reality, despite being a huge Hollywood star, Tom was jealous of Colt because, deep down, he knew his success was largely due to Colt. Colt's incredible stunts were what made Tom's action movies hits. Even though Tom was the hero in the eyes of the world, on set, Colt was considered the real hero, something Tom couldn't stand. Tom himself revealed the truth to Colt, saying that the accident during Colt's stunt was a planned move. He was still angry at Colt. Tom beat him up badly and said, "Did you see what I did to that other stuntman? I was jealous of you, but he destroyed my career by spreading the rumor that I didn't do my own stunts. Look at how much humiliation I've suffered. I killed him in a fit of rage to avenge my dishonor, but then I realized my career would be over. A new film was already in production with a lot of money invested. I told the producer everything, and she called you here to manage the situation." Tom continued, "You're coming to my apartment, going to the club, then the hotel, meeting my assistant. Everything was planned by us. And poor you got trapped in it all." Tom told Colt, "What did you think? How did Jody become a director so quickly? We made her the director of this movie so that we could call you here under her name. Your face had never been scanned on set before, but this time we were scanning your face so that we could superimpose it on the murder video and present it in court as evidence that you were the killer." Colt was stunned. Hearing all this truth, he couldn't believe people could stoop so low. Tom then ordered his men to throw Colt into the water. Tom's men began pouring petrol over Colt. As an excuse to scream, Colt drank a lot of petrol. When one of the men tried to set him on fire, Colt spit the petrol out, creating a fire to distract them. In the chaos, he managed to escape. He ran away, while Tom's men fired bullets at them from behind. Colt quickly called Jody because he thought he might die. He wanted to tell her his feelings one last time. He told her, "Jody, I love you very much. I never wanted to leave you, but I did because I thought you would never marry a loser. After that accident, I started considering myself a failure. But believe me, I only realized what real pain is after being away from you." As he was talking, he suddenly collided with something, causing an explosion. The news spread that Colt had committed suicide because he had committed a murder and wanted to escape punishment. To prove this, they showed the video of Tom's murder with Colt's face superimposed over Tom's. The news of Colt's death had completely broken Jody. She was sitting in her room, crying while watching Colt's videos, when suddenly someone entered her room. Jody immediately got up and tried to attack the intruder, but the person calmed her down and took off an alien suit, revealing that it was Colt. Jody was shocked to see him alive. Colt explained that the whole scenario of him dying in the water was a ruse to save himself. When his truck exploded, he jumped into the water and swam to safety. Now, he had come to Jody to tell her the truth. He explained that he had not committed any murder, but had been framed. The producer had called him there, and all the murders were actually committed by Tom. The murder video being shown was edited, with Colt's face superimposed on Tom's body. As Colt was explaining everything to Jody, there was another knock on her cabin door. Jody quickly hid Colt. The producer had come to tell Jody that Tom had finally returned, and they could continue filming. However, she mentioned that they would no longer do the car stunt scene since both stuntmen had supposedly died. Jody didn't respond to the producer, who then left. Jody didn't feel right about shooting with Tom, but Colt convinced her not to stop, saying it was important for her career. He suggested that they might have several opportunities to get a confession from Tom during the film shoot. Jody liked Colt's plan, and together they devised a strategy to extract the truth from Tom. The next day, Jody set up a stunt scene on set, knowing that Tom would never be able to perform it himself. Colt, disguised and sitting next to Tom in a helmet, drove the car at high speed once Jody gave the action command. Terrified, Tom started talking, and Jody gradually asked him questions. Panicked, Tom confessed everything, which Jody recorded on cameras and audio devices. As soon as Tom's confession was captured, his security guards started chasing after Colt. The producer, having seen Jody's entire plan, quickly tried to delete the camera recordings, but Jody stopped her with a punch. Meanwhile, Tom, who had regained consciousness in the car, remembered that he had confessed everything. Seeing his men had called a helicopter to help him escape, he ran and boarded it. The producer, now successful in obtaining the evidence after fighting with Jody, also boarded the helicopter, which began to take off. Jody needed to retrieve the evidence at any cost, and only Colt could do this. Climbing a crane, Colt was about to jump onto the helicopter. Before doing so, he asked Jody about their date, and upon her agreement, he jumped onto the helicopter. Though difficult, it wasn't impossible for him. Inside the helicopter, he fought the occupants and managed to retrieve all the evidence. Now, it was time for him to jump down from the helicopter. His friend, in a car, had brought an air mattress and positioned it below the helicopter. Colt successfully jumped onto the mattress. Finally, Colt had all the evidence to prove his innocence. Jody also now fully believed in his truth. They embraced each other, and in the final scene, it was shown that Jody completed the movie, but not with Tom. She had chosen a different hero. Her biggest dream of becoming a director had come true. She and Colt were now happily living their lives together. They went on a date at the beach, fulfilling the promise Colt had made to Jody while climbing the crane. Today, both were very happy, and the movie ended showing them together, enjoying their happiness. I hope you have liked this movie recap. Please like, share and subscribe for more